Hey, what's up, everybody? Anthony Height here of Studio Skye-Tiger Comics. And I was just reminded of a quote from a friend, and that quote was, if you write a black character, that black character represents blackness. That's ridiculous. And that quote comes from Dwayne McDuffie. And shout out to Pillboy, who is a YouTuber, and just recently put out a video that had that quote in it. And it just struck me, it just reminded me of several of the conversations Dwayne and I were privileged to have. And when I think about Midnight Tiger, I don't write Midnight Tiger as this is this black kid. I write Midnight Tiger as a kid. And I have the blessing and the privilege of having fans of Midnight Tiger who are from all over. Women, men, LGBTQ, black, white, Asian, whatever, all over. And one of the best things I've ever heard about that was that he's the type of character that anybody could get into. It just so happens that he's black. It was always the best thing that I'd ever heard, because that's exactly the point. Being black isn't loud. Being black is as it is. Gavin doesn't have to walk into a room and say, hey, I'm the black teenager that's a superhero. Or when the world wants to judge you, right? When people see his costume and hasn't read the book, they're like, oh, this kind of reminds me of Black Panther. I immediately know that they haven't even tried to read the book. And all they see is a black person, a black face with ears. First of all, there's a ton of cat-themed comic book characters. The fact that they know that this character, this teenager, this boy is black, they have these two things. And so, oh, it's about Black Panther? No, it's not even close to that. Actually, the character was inspired by Spider-Man and a character called the Puma, as far as I'm concerned, and a couple of anime influences as well. So that's what the character is inspired by. But as far as the look was concerned, plus Street Fighter characters like Guy, if you look at his raps, you can see Guy, he's got raps. So anyway, but as far as the character is concerned, this is how I know when people who have read the book get it. They're like, he's kind of like Spider-Man. I was like, bingo. He's very much like a Peter Parker type character, very much like a Spider-Man type character. But it's never been about the fact that he's black. That's an obvious thing. Nobody has to announce those things. It's about his experience, it's about his story, and part of that is being black. It is being black, living in a neighborhood that isn't necessarily seen or respected or whatever. But that's not the whole point of the story. It's his story. It's his experience with other people that live in that city. In addition to the supernatural elements, in addition to the superhero elements, there's the experience of growing up necessarily without a mother and his relationship with his father, his found family and his friends. It's stuff like that. None of those things really have anything to do with the fact that this character is black. Love of nerd culture, his love of cooking and making sandwiches, because he's the sandwich maestro, and it's none of that has anything to do with his ethnicity. So I want you guys to think about that as far as when us writers of color are writing these characters. And it's true, there are some characters out there that their entire story is about them being black. And a good story, if that's the theme, has a goal, there's a motivation behind that. Hopefully that is interwoven into the story, where it's something that it doesn't need to be mentioned. It's baked into the cake. It's part of what it is. But at the end of the day, for me as a writer and as a comic book creator, it is about telling the story of this teenage character that has these abilities, that has to deal with this thing in his city, that is someone who feels very strongly about the lives of others. Again, these are all traits that anybody can have, but it just so happens that he lives where he lives, born the way he's born. This is what his stake in life is, but it's also his agency, his friends, and all that. This is what we got. This is what we're willing to do, and this is a life we live, and a life that they love, and they're willing to protect it. And however that story, all the elements of who they are as people, shapes and bows out when it comes to the storytelling, that's what it is. I just wanted to put that out there and say that when you see the character and you're interested in the character's fun. He's funny. Him being funny has nothing to do with the fact that he's black. But that's really, again, that's really it. And as a comic book creator who's read all types of comics with all types of stories, from stories all over the world, European comics, Japanese comics, manga, American comics, all over. And you get a little bit of that experience from everything you read. There's different things about it that only people who have experienced those things can write about. So that definitely comes through. But it's also a sharing of ideas and experiences. And really the idea of comics to me is sharing experiences through these sometimes fantastical stories, sometimes a slice of life stories, very grounded, but all should be, the idea of storytelling is sharing our experiences through story. I think that's how I want to cap it with this one. So I'll see you guys later until the next video.